I heard my brother lean in close to Grandpa's hospital bed and whisper, "Sign everything to me. Just make an X and I will handle the rest." What Marcus did not know was that Grandpa's lawyer had been standing in the corner for the past 11 minutes with a digital recorder running in his jacket pocket. If you have ever watched someone try to steal what is not theirs, subscribe and tell me where you are watching from. My name is Elena. I am 32 years old and I work as an architect in Portland, Oregon. The day that changed everything was October 9th, 2023. The afternoon Grandpa was moved into hospice care, and my brother decided to make his final play for a $2.4 million estate. I need to take you back so you understand this was not a one-time thing. Marcus had been setting this up for years. The first warning sign came when I was 26. Grandpa had loaned Marcus $12,000 to help him start a landscaping business. Grandpa kept a ledger, old school, black leather with columns in blue ink. Marcus promised to pay him back within 2 years. By year 3, I asked Marcus about it at Thanksgiving dinner. He looked me dead in the eye and said Grandpa told me that was a gift, not a loan. Grandpa was sitting right there. He went quiet, looked down at his plate, and said nothing. I saw the hurt in his face, but he would not contradict Marcus in front of everyone. That $12,000 was never repaid. The second time was worse. Grandpa owned a small cabin on Mount Hood that had been in our family since 1987. He loved that place. He built the deck himself, restored the stone fireplace, planted 42 Douglas firs around the property line. In 2019, Marcus convinced Grandpa to put the cabin in Marcus's name for tax purposes. He said it was temporary just to avoid estate complications. Grandpa signed the quitclaim deed because Marcus was his grandson and he trusted family. 6 months later, Marcus sold the cabin for $190,000 and bought himself a truck and a boat. When I found out, I called him. He said Grandpa gave me permission. It was mine to do what I wanted. I drove to Grandpa's house that same night. He was sitting in his workshop, not building anything, just sitting. He said, "Elena, I am too old to fight my own blood." The third incident happened 14 months before Grandpa got sick. Our grandmother, his wife of 51 years, passed away in July of 2022. She had a small jewelry collection, nothing extravagant, but there was a gold bracelet engraved with her initials that Grandpa had given her on their 25th anniversary. The day after her funeral, that bracelet disappeared from the house. I asked Marcus if he had seen it. He said no. 3 weeks later, I was at his apartment and saw the bracelet sitting on his girlfriend's wrist. I asked her where she got it. She said Marcus gave it to me. He said it was his mom's. It was not his mom's. It was our grandmother's. When I confronted him, he told me I was being dramatic and that Grandma would have wanted someone to enjoy it. He never gave it back. So when Grandpa was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in September of 2023, I knew Marcus would make a move. I just did not know it would be that blatant. Grandpa declined fast. 3 weeks from diagnosis to hospice. On October 9th, the hospital called me at 1:47 p.m. and said he had maybe 72 hours. I was on a job site in Beaverton. I told my project manager I had a family emergency and I drove straight to Providence Portland Medical Center. I got there at 2:33 p.m. Grandpa was in room 412, a corner unit with 2 windows facing west. The light was soft and golden. He was asleep, morphine drip going, oxygen monitor beeping every few seconds. His hands looked so small on top of the blanket. I pulled a chair next to the bed and held his left hand. His skin was papery and cool. At 3:10 p.m., Grandpa's lawyer arrived. His name was Raymond Chen. He had been Grandpa's attorney since 1998. He was 71 years old, gray hair, wire-rimmed, glasses, always carried a burgundy leather briefcase. He nodded to me when he came in and set the briefcase on the counter by the window. He said, "Elena, I am glad you are here." He did not say why. He just took a seat in the corner by the door, hands folded, watching. At 3:42 p.m., Marcus walked in. He was wearing a black jacket and jeans, same boots he bought with the cabin money. He looked at me, then at Mr. Chen, then at Grandpa. He said, "Hey, how is he doing?" I told him no change. Marcus sat on the opposite side of the bed. For a few minutes, it was just the three of us and the beeping. Then Marcus did something odd. He looked at Mr. Chen and said, "Do you mind giving us some family time? Maybe just 10 minutes. Mr. Chen looked at him, calm, no expression. He said, "I am staying." Marcus frowned. He said, "I just want a private moment with my grandpa." Mr. Chen repeated, "I am staying," and he did not move. Marcus let it go, but I could see his jaw tighten. At 4:01 p.m., a hospice nurse came in to check vitals. She adjusted the drip, made a note on her tablet, and left. The room went quiet again. At 4:19 p.m., Grandpa woke up. His eyes opened slow. He looked around, confused at first, then he saw me. He smiled, barely, and squeezed my hand. I leaned in close. I said, "Grandpa, it is Elena. I am here." He nodded. His voice was a whisper. He said, "Good girl." Marcus stood up fast. He moved around the bed and leaned in from the other side. He said, "Grandpa, it is Marcus. Can you hear me?" Grandpa turned his head a little. He said yes. That is when it happened. Marcus pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket pocket and a pen. He unfolded it on the bed tray. I could see it was some kind of form, blank lines, legal-looking. Marcus put the pen in Grandpa's hand. Then he leaned down, his mouth maybe 2 inches from Grandpa's ear, and he whispered, "Sign everything to me. Just make an X, and I will handle the rest." I felt my stomach drop. I started to say something, but Mr. Chen stood up. He did not raise his voice. He just said, "Marcus, step back from the bed right now." Marcus jerked upright. He said, "What?" Mr. Chen walked over, calm and steady. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small digital voice recorder, the kind with the red light on top. That light was on. He held it up. He said, "I have been recording this visit since I arrived at 3:10 p.m. Everything you just said is on this device." Marcus went white. He said, "You cannot do that." Mr. Chen said Oregon is a one-party consent state. I am a party to this conversation. I can absolutely do that. He turned off the recorder, slipped it back into his pocket, and looked at me. He said, "Elena, I need you to take that paper from the tray and hand it to me." I did. My hands were shaking. The paper was a handwritten transfer of a state document. It was not even notarized. It was just lines that said, "I leave all assets to Marcus William Brennan," with a signature line at the bottom. Mr. Chen folded it and put it in his briefcase. He said, "Marcus, you need to leave this room." Marcus did not move. Mr. Chen said, "If you do not leave, I will call hospital security, and I will file a report for attempted elder exploitation. You have 10 seconds. Marcus looked at Grandpa, then at me, then back at Mr. Chen. He said, "This is not over." Then he walked out. The door swung shut behind him. I sat back down. I was shaking. Mr. Chen returned to his seat in the corner. He said, "Elena, your grandfather and I updated his will 4 months ago. It is notarized, witnessed, and filed. What your brother just attempted has no legal standing, but I wanted to be here in case he tried something. Now we have proof." I asked him what the will said. Mr. Chen said, "I will share the details at the appropriate time, but I can tell you that your grandfather was very clear about his wishes and he made those decisions when he was fully competent." He looked at Grandpa, still sleeping again, morphine pulling him under. Mr. Chen said he is a good man. He deserves better than that. Grandpa passed away at 6:52 a.m. On October 12, 2023, I was there. Marcus was not. The funeral was on October 17th. It was a small service at St. Michael's Church, 63 people, mostly Grandpa's woodworking friends and neighbors. Marcus sat in the back. He did not speak to me. On October 24th, Mr. Chen scheduled the will reading at his office on Southwest Columbia Street. He sent formal notices to me, Marcus, and our Aunt Diane, Grandpa's younger sister. The appointment was set for 2 p.m. I called Aunt Diane the night before. She was 64, retired teacher, sharp as a tack. I told her what happened at the hospital. I told her about the recording. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Elena, your grandfather talked to me about Marcus 2 years ago. He said he loved that boy, but he could not trust him with money. He was heartbroken about it. I asked her if she knew what was in the will. She said no, but I know your grandpa was fair. He would not cut anyone out, but he would protect what he built." The next day, I arrived at Mr. Chen's office at 1:50 p.m. The office was on the 9th floor, neat reception area, wooden furniture, framed diplomas on the walls. Aunt Diane was already there. She hugged me. Marcus walked in at 1:58 p.m. He did not look at either of us. At 2 p.m., Mr. Chen called us into the conference room. It had a long table, 6 chairs, a window overlooking the street. He had a folder in front of him, burgundy just like his briefcase. He also had the digital recorder on the table. He started by saying, "Thank you all for coming. This is the last will and testament of Robert James Brennan, executed on June 11, 2023, notarized and witnessed by myself and my paralegal Christine Odom." He opened the folder. The estate was valued at $2.4 million. That included Grandpa's house, valued at $680,000, his savings and investment accounts totaling $1.5 million, his truck and tools worth approximately $40,000, and personal items. Mr. Chen read the distributions. The house was left to me. The savings were split 3 ways: $500,000 to me, $500,000 to Aunt Diane, and $500,000 to Marcus. All tools and workshop equipment were left to me because I had shown interest in woodworking and had helped Grandpa on projects. Personal items were divided by a list Grandpa had handwritten. Marcus interrupted. He said, "That is it? After everything I did for him?" Mr. Chen looked at him. "He said you received a $500,000 inheritance, Marcus. That is more than most people see in a lifetime." Marcus said I should have gotten more. I was his grandson. I took care of him. I could not stay quiet. I said, "You took care of him? You stole from him. You sold his cabin. You took Grandma's bracelet. You have not paid back a dime of that $12,000 loan." Marcus snapped at me. He said that was a gift. Mr. Chen raised one hand. He said, "Let me be clear. Your grandfather was aware of all of those incidents. He and I discussed them at length. He chose this distribution because he wanted to be fair, but also because he wanted to protect his legacy from being squandered." Then Mr. Chen picked up the recorder. He said, "And in light of what happened on October 9th, I am prepared to file a formal complaint with the state for attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. That recording is evidence. If you contest this will, I will use it." Marcus stared at him. He said, "You are bluffing." Mr. Chen pressed play. We heard Marcus's voice, crackling but clear. "Sign everything to me, just make an X, and I will handle the rest." Then we heard Mr. Chen's voice telling him to step back. Mr. Chen stopped the playback. He said, "I also have sworn statements from 2 hospice nurses who witnessed you attempting to coerce your grandfather in the days before I arrived." They noted it in his chart. I subpoenaed those records. Aunt Diane spoke up. She said, "Marcus, take the $500,000 and go. You do not deserve it, but Grandpa loved you enough to give it to you anyway." "Do not make this worse." Marcus stood up. He said, "You are all against me." He pointed at me. He said, "You poisoned him. You turned him against me." I said nothing. Mr. Chen said, "This meeting is over. You have 30 days to sign the acceptance of distribution. If you contest, we go to probate and everything I just described becomes public record." Marcus left. He slammed the door so hard the window rattled. Mr. Chen looked at me. He said, "Elena, I am sorry you had to go through this. Your grandfather wanted you to have the house because he said you were the only one who understood what it meant to build something that lasts." I started crying. I did not mean to. Aunt Diane put her arm around me. 2 weeks later, Marcus signed the acceptance. He took the $500,000. He did not speak to me or Aunt Diane. On November 9th, his girlfriend left him. She told mutual friends that he had become obsessed with money and blamed everyone else for his problems. He moved out of state in January of 2024. I have not heard from him since. I moved into Grandpa's house in December of 2023. It needed work. The roof had some leaks. The kitchen was original from 1994, but the bones were solid. Grandpa had built the back deck himself. Tongue and groove fur, every board level and tight. In the basement, I found his workshop. Everything was still there. His table saw, hand planes, chisels arranged by size on a pegboard, jars of screws labeled in his handwriting. On the workbench, I found a wooden box he had been building. It was unfinished. The lid was sanded smooth but not stained. Inside was a note in his handwriting dated August 30th, 2023. It said, "For Elena, finish what I started." I took a woodworking class at the community college that winter. I learned how to use a router, how to join corners, how to apply a Danish oil finish. On March 2nd, 2024, I completed the box. I used it to store the letters Grandpa had written me over the years and the copy of the will Mr. Chen gave me. I also framed the page from Grandpa's ledger that showed the $12,000 loan to Marcus, never repaid. I hung it in the workshop, not as a grudge, but as a reminder. Some people will take and never see the cost. Aunt Diane comes over for dinner twice a month. We sit on the deck Grandpa built and we talk about him. She told me that after Grandpa's wife died, he started every morning by writing in a journal. She found one entry from May of 2022. It said I gave my grandsons everything I could. One of them learned to build. The other only learned to take. I hope I teach Elena that what you build with your hands and your integrity is the only thing no one can steal, Mr. Chen. Closed Grandpa's estate on April 14th, 2024. All distributions were finalized. The house is mine, clear title. I refinished the kitchen. I fixed the roof. I planted a row of Douglas firs along the back fence, 42 of them, just like Grandpa did at the cabin Marcus sold. I got a letter from Marcus in June of 2024. It was postmarked from Boise, Idaho. He said he was sorry for what happened and he hoped we could talk someday. He did not ask for anything. I have not written back yet. Maybe I will. Maybe I will not. But if I do, it will be on my terms. And only if he proves he understands what he took was more than money. What I learned is this. Family does not mean you owe someone your silence when they do wrong. Grandpa stayed quiet too many times because he loved Marcus and did not want to fight. But silence just made space for more harm. The lawyer who stands in the corner with a recorder running is worth more than 100 relatives who look the away. If this story meant something to you, leave me a comment and tell me where you are watching from. Subscribe if you believe in boundaries and receipts. And if someone ever tries to take what you built, make sure somebody is recording.